We are conditioned from day one to treat money as an unyielding physical force, a master that demands your constant labor, time, and energy. You grind through 40-hour weeks, trading your life force for survival, operating under the assumption that wealth is a rare, finite resource you must extract from the earth. But look at what you are actually trading your life for. It is just printed rectangles of cotton and linen, or worse, a handful of glowing pixels altering a digital balance. There is zero intrinsic physical value in these objects. This creates a massive vacuum. If the very thing dictating where you live, what you eat, and how much freedom you have isn't tethered to actual physical matter, what exactly is running the hierarchy of human lives? We act as if economics is a hard science, governed by objective physical laws like gravity. The reality is that the system we participate in is a psychological construct. It's a collective agreement that only wields power because we all silently choose to believe it has some. To understand wealth, you have to abandon the physics of matter and step into the invisible architecture of collective human belief. To see how deep this goes, look at the mechanics of modern money. For a long time, currency was anchored to something tangible, but the idea that your cash is backed by giant vaults of gold has been a myth since 1971. We severed the tie to hard physical assets decades ago. We now operate in a fiat system. In Latin, fiat translates to by decree, or let it be done. It is nothing more than a declared rule. When central banks decide to stimulate the global economy, they do not dig into the earth to mine a resource. They sit down at a terminal. They press enter, and they instantiate billions of dollars out of thin air. Wealth is typed into existence. This newly generated money is backed by credit. And if you trace that word back to its Latin root, credere, it translates to believe. The entire financial architecture holding civilization together is woven from invisible threads of trust. The stock market, inflation rates, and the purchasing power of your paycheck function because 8 billion people unconsciously agree to keep participating in the same story. Now apply that same logic to the individual mind. Mid-century mystic Neville Goddard proposed a framework that mirrors this exact mechanism. His core premise is that consciousness is the actual foundational bedrock of reality. He called this the law of assumption. Goddard observed that the physical, three-dimensional world does not dictate your internal state. Instead, the 3D world is actively lagging behind it. You aren't pulling external objects toward you like a magnet. By adopting a specific internal assumption, you are spawning that reality directly from the quantum field into physical space. When you assume the feeling of a fulfilled desire, when you encode that belief into your mind, the physical world is forced to reorder itself to match your new internal frequency. Your personal reality operates exactly like a fiat currency. It is manifested into existence through a sovereign internal decree, backed by unwavering belief. The Federal Reserve and the individual consciousness rely on the same core machinery. One issues a decree to the market, the other issues an assumption to the mind. In both cases, a rule is established where nothing existed before, and the world reshapes itself to accommodate that rule. On a macro level, it's an economic decree. On a micro level, it's a psychological assumption. Both are rules that only function when fueled entirely by belief. This means money is not an object you need to hoard. Money is simply crystallized belief. It's a physical mirror, reflecting your subconscious assumptions about value. This is where it gets dangerous. If you operate from a baseline of financial fear, if you constantly assume a state of lack, you are engaging in negative manifestation. You are weaponizing your own mind to print scarcity, using the same mechanism the Fed uses to print wealth. You have to break the habit of letting a socially constructed matrix of pixels and paper dictate how you feel inside. The next time you check your bank app and feel that familiar knot of anxiety, catch yourself. Intercept that energy. You are operating in a fiat system, which means you have the authority to write your own rules. Governance of your internal state determines the trajectory of the physical reality you spawn. In a world defined by decree and belief, your consciousness is the only seat of power that truly matters.